GROADIO episode 7, but it's actually like episode 1 because we are now... Well, let me ask you this first. I'm here with Amanda Nauman and also Zach Schuster. Have both of you taken off your shoes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because, we're in a new house.
Okay.
We don't need tracking mud through it.
Yeah.
This is a brand new feed for GROADIO. We're starting fresh here. Everything's new. We want to keep it that way. So we're going to have some rules, some house rules just to get started.
Oh, man. All right, hit us. What are the house rules, Bill?
I think that's the main one.
Apparently no shoes.
No shoes. That's it.
Okay.
That was it. This is exciting. So we've made it out of the wide angle podium parts bin and into our own GROADIO feed that we would like all of you to subscribe to. And with that, I guess I should introduce. Well, I'm Bill. I'm the curious noob of this group. So that's sort of my role. My guess specialty, if you want to call it that, is more cyclocross as opposed to any gravel events. And that's why we have Amanda Nauman, who is I'm going with esteemed gravel racer and cyclocross racer, also an MTB background. Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm good, Bill. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with us I'm going with the premier gravel cycling journalist in the U.S., in North America, Zach Schuster from Cyclocross Magazine, Cyclocross / like gravel magazine at this point. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Bill. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're very kind. Yeah, I think in retrospect, to be honest, it's kind of, I've made this point before, but it's a killer from a SEO, search engine optimization thing to be Cyclocross Magazine and cover gravel. We needed, in retrospect, we should have maybe called it Cyclo Gravel Magazine or something.
Yeah, but still, I still always come back to that. Andrew Yee was ahead of the curve. He beat me to the punch by grabbing cyclocross on Twitter. So kudos for that one. So you already have that. You already have that nailed down.
That is true.
I wonder who's at Gravel. Probably some cement company out there.
That's a good question. I'm gonna look that up right now.
But that being said, so what we've done is we have this new feed. Hopefully you all subscribe to the GROADIO feed, and what you will find there, because I am currently doing that, and by the time this comes out, they will all be on there. We've moved all of the episodes over from the parts bin to this new feed, so episodes 1 through 5 are there, and all worth listening to on their own. But now and in the past have we done 1 or 2? I've already lost track of the power rankings.
I think we've done 2.
I think we've done 2.
Yeah, one without me.
Yeah, so this will be the third edition of power rankings. Basically, Amanda and Zach have put together through their own sophisticated algorithms the top gravel racers, both on the men's side and also the women's side. And what the conceit of this episode is going to be is basically counting those down and ranking who the top gravel racers are in North America. And Zach, I'm gonna let you kind of take it from there on where we're going.
Sure. Should we start with the women? Is that cool?
We should talk about which events we kind of threw into our own algorithm.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So we're very similar to how we did it on the last episode when it was Amanda and myself. We compiled rankings, and so I guess this covers up through Rebecca's Private Idaho. So we have Rebecca's Private Idaho, Gravel Worlds, Steamboat Gravel, which you can go back to. I think this is actually episode 7. If we're being semantical about it. Wasn't the last one 6?
So.
Yeah, so if you go back to episode 5, I think we covered those in depth and talked about those races. And then we had a couple from the beginning of August. The Rift, the race that we all want to do now in Iceland, as well as Rooted Vermont, I think snuck it into the algorithm. So basically what we did, I came up with my top men and women, top 10. We're doing 10, not 11, because that's copyrighted by the CX Heat Check Power Rankings. And Amanda did the same. And then we submitted our rankings to each other, and they went through our respective algorithms. So I think there are different algorithms for like each of us alone, and then how they combine. So there's like, who knows what it's going to end up being. Does that sound, did I miss anything, Amanda?
No, that's about right. Yeah, last time we talked, I think we had covered all the events that had happened before Rebecca's Private Idaho, and so now that we have the results from that, I think we wanted to do an updated list. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how we both put our list together. I think I weighed people a little bit more heavily if they had done several other races in the past. Whereas I know like Bill's heat check rankings, like he gave a lot of credit to the Euros. I mean, they hadn't really been to Rochester or in North America for that long, but he was very much like that week it was who's important. But I think for our rankings, we're giving a little bit more street cred to our unofficial series, let's say.
I will just jump in here for 1 second to clarify that, in that it was the level of the race that was also important, which I don't think may have as much of an effect in the gravel world. So, for instance, I'll get off this very quickly, but in the cyclocross world, a World Cup is going to carry more weight than a C2. But we're not dealing with those same issues here.
I think we actually did. I think we do have some unofficial weights that went into kind of how we ranked them. And I think, at least from my perspective, I think it was more on field strength. So just looking at the depth of the fields and, the strength of the riders and the history of the races. And yeah, I know Amanda did that as well. So I think there is some of that going into what we're doing. It's just that they don't have titles necessarily.
Yeah, it's you're dealing, that's kind of the fun, I'd say, of dealing with a heretofore unsanctioned area of racing where no one has come in and put these classifications on the races. So it really is up to the history of the race and just what the community makes it out to be, rather than what a governing body says it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's fun that way, and it's definitely strength of field too, and it's still one of those things where there really are levels to these gravel events, not officially like cyclocross where there's C1, C2 World Cup, but they're kind of almost are, like, based on who shows up to some of these bigger events. So yeah, it's kind of funny how that just evolves on its own.
Sweet. So, well, should we jump into it?
Yeah.
So we'll give you the rankings, and I guess like we did last time, we can kind of chat about them. To go through, though, where we were last time, we had, I'll just go really quick because I think that ended up playing a role in where folks are. So last time's rankings, which I believe was through Crusher and the Tusher, Allison Tetrick was 10th, Evelyn Dong 9th, Serena Gordon 8th, Kai Takashita 7th, Amy Charity 6th, Katerina Nash 5th, Amanda Nauman 4th, Rebecca Farringer 3rd, Amity Rockwell 2nd, and Sarah Max 1st. So that's kind of where we were before that. And so just to jump right in, I decided to I know you weighted a little bit more towards multiple events. I think the algorithm did a little bit less of that this time. And so our 10th rider is a little international flavor. I'm going to butcher this. Is Maria Owen Gudmundsdottir. And she finished second at the Rift, so obviously only one race. But there was a pretty talented field at the Rift. It was won by Allison Tetrick, and was reading up on her. Apparently, she was like 4-time Icelandic Cyclist of the Year or something like that. So I don't know. Number 10, the heat check position, a little international flair.
I'm impressed with your pronunciation of that. I can't even attempt it.
It comes from covering the CrossFit Games from a few years ago. There's Sarah Sigmundsdottir, and there's Annie Thor's daughter. So there's quite a few. The Icelandic women clean up in CrossFit. So you kind of have to know if you're going to do the CrossFit cyclocross beat. you got to know how to pronounce them.
All right, so you're a pro. You're a pro.
Coming in at ninth, this is where things got a little bit dicey. There were different ways that we could have gone, but our ninth, was fourth at Steamboat Gravel, and it was Alexis Ratiotes. I butchered that. That's not Icelandic. She's
Good attempt.
From Arkansas, so kind of apropos given that the cyclocross world is headed to Fayetteville this coming weekend. So she's done some road racing, also a professional chiropractor, sports chiropractor. So she looks like she sponsors a good deal of cycling in that area. So I don't know. It's kind of like interesting. One of those riders, you've seen this, Amanda, like really strong regional riders who can come out and do gravel and like land on podiums or near podiums. It's kind of a cool aspect of the discipline.
Yeah, and she was the one that I mentioned last time had signed up for like the masters category. She wasn't even signed up in the open women. That's why she's not on the podium for like the official pro podium, I guess, because she was actually an age group entry and ended up fourth overall, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. That was at Steamboat. So so that's cool to see. In eighth, we have Elizabeth McCauley, and she took third at Rebecca's Private Idaho. Impressive. It's a 3-day stage race, essentially, or 2 stages and a time trial. She's from Tennessee and looks like she does a little bit of everything, including she raced at Go Cross in 2017 before it was a UCI race. So a little bit of a cross connection there. So 3 newcomers on the power rankings in our first 3 spots. Number 7 is a mainstay. Dropping a little bit, we have Amity Rockwell, of course, your 2019 Queen of Dirty Kanza. And she finished... Oh, man. Was she at... Looking through my results here... did she race at Steamboat? She must have raced at Steamboat.
She did. Something happened, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have
the top 20.
Yes, I had that in front of me, and I did not see her. But she finished 6th at Rebecca's Private Idaho. So she's had, obviously, a very strong gravel season. And, so she's coming in at 7th place. Number 6, someone that we saw at the Trek CX Cup, Sarah Sturm. So she finished 3rd at Steamboat, and she's had all kinds of great results throughout the year. She was ranked. I think we had her 2 rankings ago. She was on the rankings, so she was not necessarily doing the gravel thing for a bit. So she comes back to the rankings. I'm trying to look through my results here. Is that the big one from recently? Did I miss one for her?
No, she didn't do Rebecca's Private Idaho. Okay.
Sweet. And I think she finished, she was the winner of Belgian Waffle earlier this year. And I think she finish 2nd maybe at Lost and Found? Behind.
Yeah, and second in Leadville. I mean, she's definitely gotten around this summer.
All right. So now we're getting to our top 5, where it gets a little bit, we mix it up a little bit. Probably could be some controversy, although I don't know if people are following this to the extent they follow the CX Heat Check power rankings at this point.
Oh, they will. They will.
Okay.
We just got to sell it as if this is it.
Okay. So number 5.
Build the drama, Zach.
Yeah, so number 5 is Brody Chapman. She won Steamboat Gravel. She's from the Team Tibco road team. Her and Lauren Stevens kind of rode off the front of that race, and she got a big win. So, Amanda, I think, like you said, that we're coming into the, only done 1 gravel race so far. Although she's probably the highest paid gravel racer if we were going by winnings. From winning Steamboat. And then number 4, her teammate Lauren Stevens. Lauren finished 2nd at Crusher, and I think she was number 11. So she came in at number 11 on the rankings last time. So she was just outside. So I gave her a bump. I mean, she finished 2nd overall in the DK 100. That's behind Ashton Lambie, and so she finished 2nd at Steamboat. So big move for her. Thought she deserved a little bit of love moving up the rankings. Number 3 Sarah Max, our former number one, so she drops down a couple spots, and I think we decided that she was definitely the rookie of the year in the gravel world. Her big result was a second place at Rebecca's Private Idaho. She also finished, looks like, 8th at Steamboat, so 2 solid results for her to go with her previous accomplishments. Cool to see. It'd be exciting to see what's next for her.
I'm pretty sure like her first gravel race was Rebecca's Private Idaho like a year ago. And so she's had a really strong year of going around and doing all these races. But I remember seeing something where that was like one of the first gravel events that she did and kind of got her hooked. So it's crazy to see the year that she's had since then, and kind of coming full circle on it and seeing how much success she's had. It's pretty cool.
And where was she last time ranked?
She was number one last time.
She was number one, and now number 3.
Yeah.
So we got some standout performances here that have happened to be able to knock her out of there. I mean, it's got to take something to knock you out of number one.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't.
Yeah. Well, I think I think it's a little bit more variable too with gravel, right? Like where you live and if you do race versus, like other disciplines where there's races every weekend. But I mean, I give her a lot of credit. I'd say if you stay within the top 5 for multiple power rankings, like that's pretty impressive. And that symbolizes like pretty solid consistency. Number 2.
That being said, I am surprised that she finished 8th at Steamboat. I was expecting a bit more from her because she's a really good climber. But it's one of those things that we talked about last time. Like as soon as you throw in the ringers of like a bunch of roadies and people who race these other disciplines, where did they fall? I was kind of surprised she finished 8th there.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for. That's the heat. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I will say, with the algorithms that we both came up with, we both had the same top 3. It was just we had them in different order.
Gotcha.
So number 2 was Casey Armstrong. Big performance at Rebecca's Private Idaho. She took the win there, and she finished 7th. Sorry, 7th at Steamboat. Yeah. Amanda clearly had her number 1 based on her reaction. So she was surprised.
I'm surprised.
Why number 1? Why was she your number 1?
I mean, because I gave, I think, a little bit more weight to Rebecca's Private Idaho and the fact that she had done Oregon also this year. So she's done those like longer stage races style of gravel racing, which I think is a bit more burly. But yeah, I gave her more street cred on both of those.
And was it the strength of field at Steamboat and not that had her pushed down to 2 for you, Zach, or what's the reasoning, or is it just that the number 1 person who we're still waiting for was that far ahead?
That's a good question. I think I think the number 1. I mean, I think we kind of know who it's going to be at this point. But I don't know. She's been not necessarily ranked as high in the power rankings. I thought she deserved a little bit of love for, I think a solid second half of the season, especially. But Bill, you picked her as like your heat check. You surprised this person, the first episode of the power rankings. You're like, whoa, I bet this person's going to climb. And then she dropped actually the next one.
I was looking at the long view.
Yeah. So our number 1 is Allison Tetrick. Took the win at Gravel Worlds and took the win at the Rift. I mean, she destroyed the field at Gravel Worlds. She won by over an hour. I think what put her over the top in the rankings was the double wins, the 2 wins, kind of her track record. She did quietly, if you can do that, finish second at Dirty Kanza. Was it second? I think it was second. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you quietly finished second at Dirty Kanza. I don't know if it's possible to do that, to quietly finish second at DK. So she's on top. I had top spot, Allison Tetrick, the big climber, 10th to 1.
All right. I guess she had 2 wins in this bracket of events that we were talking about, but I just didn't give the Rift too much weight there because it didn't have too deep a field. But all right, whatever you want to do.
I don't know, maybe I was just so captivated by the beauty of it and the jealousy of everyone who got to race there that it just like somehow happened.
Clearly. But yeah, I mean that's a good top 10.
I mean, if we're given extra points, for locations and everything like that, I mean, the Rift is, what is it, Iceland? Where is it?
It was in Iceland.
Yeah.
It went around
Iceland,
a volcano. I mean, how can you beat that?
Right. You got to the race at Mordor. You got to give some extra points there.
Yeah. Well, it's the power. It's a work in progress. The GROADIO power rankings are a work in progress. So. Amanda,
I do have a little surprise for you guys. So after we recorded that episode, the guys who put that event on actually sent me a message and gave us a standing invitation to come out next year. So they're gonna try and figure out if they can get us there somehow, and
now, when
if
you
we
say
want
us,
to do it.
Like,
Yeah,
who's
I
us?
said the three of us.
Whoa.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
So
Oh,
I
man.
mean, they liked what we did. They liked what we talked about, and I think they're definitely trying to get more people there next year. So I think they're interested in, doing some additional coverage. And they said they have some push that they want to do in media. So we'll see.
We
Pencil it
are
in, boys.
we are your people.
Yeah,
Rift
exactly.
folks.
Penciling it in, man. I'm using a friggin' Sharpie. Like, I don't know, man. Penciling. I do have to say though, Bill. We frequently joke about the media center and where we do our podcasting from.
Yes.
I mean, if we do record at the Rift Media Center, we pretty much just have to retire like media center recording.
Yeah,
right?
coming live from the base of a volcano.
From the volcano.
Yeah. Like, we're literally on a friggin' volcano. Like, I just, no offense to the Rochester Holiday Inn, but I just don't know if it can really hold a candle to like a literal volcano.
This is true.
Yep. So you heard it here. We're penciling it in.
Awesome.
All right. Wow.
Sweet.
News.
Man,
Awesome. This going to our own feed is already paying dividends for it. All right. Anything else we have to put a cherry on the top of the women's rankings, or are we good to go? Is this so? I guess my question here though is this it? Is this the final rankings for the year?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it could be, unless we wanted to do another round with Grinduro and like some other random stuff that happens.
That's right. So this does not take into consideration Grinduro. So I think definitely that we should probably have maybe one more after there was, because that was a pretty good field, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Both of them had really good fields. So yeah, we could do one more.
All right. Sweet.
So just to recap for your argument's sake, we have 10th Goodman's Daughter, 9th Rashotes. Elizabeth, call me up and just yell at me for pronouncing your name wrong. 8th Macaulay, 7th Rockwell, 6th Sturm, 5 Chapman, 4 Stevens, 3 Max, 2 Armstrong, and 1 Ellie Tetrick. They're your top 10 women through Rebecca's Private Idaho.
All right, let's move on.
Yep.
Let's move on.
All
to
right,
the men.
sounds good. So I'm going to go through the men. Do you want me to recap last time's
let's do it.
list? Okay. 10, Tristan Ewell. 9, Jamie Driscoll. 8, Peter Stetina. 7, Alex Grant. 6, Colin Strickland. 5, Barry Wicks. 4, Josh Berry. 3, Alex Howes. 2, Eddie Anderson. And in first, I had Mr. Carl Decker. So, there's a pretty good shakeup this time around. It's interesting because last time we talked about how many of the same women have been going around to these events, but it seemed like in August, a lot of the same men had put these 4 or 5 events on their calendar, and it was a pretty similar showing from the top 10 guys who were on the list last time to who ended up on the list this time. Just a little bit of a shakeup. But yeah, so again, we covered RPI, Steamboat, which those 2 and Gravel Worlds I gave the highest weight to, and then sprinkled in the Rift and Rooted Vermont, just to kind of see if there were any guys that had spread out to some of the smaller events. And yeah, he didn't make my list, but I just wanted to give a little cyclocross shout out because Lane Maher won the Rooted Vermont event, which I thought was kind of cool. He didn't really fit my algorithm to make the top 10, but I thought it was pretty cool that he won that.
$2.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, in the meantime, I mean, Leadville did happen, and Alex Howes and Peter Stetina were both in that event, and, you know, they've been on the rankings before, and I thought it would have been kind of cool to put them in there, but I went with a little bit more straight gravel for this time around. So yeah, in 10th, slipped 9 spots this time around, is Carl Decker. He went from first last time, now he's in 10th. He didn't have as good of a Gravel Worlds result as I had hoped, and so I think that that's what kind of slipped him all the way down for me. He finished 20th at Gravel Worlds. I don't know if it was a mechanical or if that's just not the kind of style that's the style of racing that suits him. It's less of a mountain gravel and more of, you know, Midwest rolling hills gravel, so maybe he just didn't have the engine for that. In 9th place, I had Jacob Wrathy. I think that's how you pronounce it. We talked about him last time. He had a 3rd place at Steamboat, which is pretty cool for a retired road racer. And that I introduced him to the list this time around. So in 8th, Eric Marcotte. He finished 2nd at Gravel Worlds. It was a sprint finish, which I thought was pretty cool. And we talked about that last time, how John was kind of the hometown hero in that event, but Eric has also been going around and doing quite a few of these gravel events this year, so because of that, he's got a little bit more weight behind him in some of the events that he's done, like Crusher and Dirty Kansas. In 7th, I have Mr. Payson McElveen. What was he last time? Oh, he wasn't on my list last time.
I think he slipped out. I don't know if he was.
He must have just been doing mountain bike stuff.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't even on my list last time around. And now he jumps back on in 7th, and yes, that is because he finished 2nd at Steamboat. It was a pretty good story that he had at that event. And he had the weight of having done Dirty Kansas in his back pocket. And in 6th, John Borstelman, winning Gravel Worlds, I think, is a huge accomplishment. You know, obviously, Zach gave Allie some pretty good weight there on winning it, so I guess John deserves some weight here, too. And that puts him at 6th place on the rankings after not having been on the rankings at all last time around, so kudos to him.
Well, and he's been kind of getting some decent results, too. I mean, yeah, good, not great, not results, so I think he has a lot of... had some heft behind him, because I had him in a similar spot when I put together the rankings. So cool to see him. Cool to see him get the sprint win at the hometown race. That's always really cool. And I was going to jump in. Exactly. Jacob Wrathy also finished 4th at Oregon Trail, so I think he got some love for some of those early results as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and John, he did Crusher. I don't think he was in the top 20, but I noted it that he had actually done that event. I don't know if something happened or what, but he didn't do as well as probably had expected him to do.
He's a Nebraska boy. Can't go to altitude. It's exactly. It's biased against us in those flyover states.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, and then in 5th place, I have Matt Stevens. We talked about this on the last show. He did the Steamboat Gravel Worlds double, so I thought that was pretty awesome. He also did Crusher in the Tusher, so he had a pretty busy July, August, going around to a lot of different events, and obviously being able to go to Steamboat after having done Gravel Worlds is pretty awesome. He didn't finish in the top 20, but... pretty awesome that he was able to get 4th at Gravel Worlds and then do that crazy drive over there. So yeah, that lands him in 5th. Last time around, he was not on my list either. So there you go. Jump back on.
So are you saying are you saying on your rankings, crazy ass driving plays a role? So like if I wanted to kind of hack Amanda's power rankings, I could find 2 races 12 hours apart and do them on back-to-back days? Is that just, for future reference?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's the we talked about before. It's the Deion Sanders rule.
Okay.
For the power ranking.
But Deion had a helicopter.
Even better.
That is true. Panaracer
so this year
needs to up their game, and they need to get Matt Stevens a helicopter for next time he pulls that off.
The one that happened this year that was another possibility was Chino Grinder and Belgian Waffle Ride. I think were on the same weekends. One was Saturday and one was Sunday, and that was another one that you could have done back to back. So
All right.
next year, try it.
Are you going to hack your own rankings?
I could.
But guys, I did the two things. It's in the rules.
Oh God. All right. Number 4. Moving on. Tristan Yule. He was 10th on the rankings last time around. Now he's in 4th, just outside of the top 3. He finished. When did he get a 3rd at Gravel Worlds, which is pretty cool. And he, unlike Matt Stevens, did not make the drive to Steamboat, but he did do Rebecca's Private Idaho, and he finished 3rd there. So I think in my RPI, for your rankings, Zach, did you use the Omnium, or did you use that last event result?
I used the Omnium.
Okay, yeah, me too. Okay, yeah, so Tristan Yule finished 3rd in the overall of that event, and yeah, so that lands him 4th this time around. In 3rd, I have Mr. Josh Berry. He did Gravel Worlds, but something happened. He had a mechanical or a crash or something, and he actually didn't finish. But he was there, and surprisingly, because the kind of rider that he is, I would have guessed him to be at Steamboat over Gravel Worlds, but I think he wanted to throw his hat in the mix for Gravel Worlds and see where he would end up there. So I'm kind of surprised that he did that, but moved on to Rebecca's Private Idaho shortly thereafter and won the overall, which is pretty cool. And that is his kind of style of riding as a mountain biker. There's a lot more climbing. There's single track involved, again, which is why I'm surprised he didn't go to Steamboat. But yeah, he kind of got some redemption and ended up winning the overall at RPI.
So I have a question. What role, I think we're seeing some kind of home field advantage playing out in these men's rankings, right? So we have Josh Berry.
Yeah.
I believe he's from Ketchum originally. So that's kind of home turf for him.
So.
But with Carl Decker literally designed the course for the Oregon Trail gravel grinder. We saw where he won that. So I don't know if we need to consider that, kind of home court advantage for the power rankings, or maybe you should design courses for your gravel events so they suit your riding style. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think that's it.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. I'm just saying we're seeing a little bit of that going on here.
Yes. So, gentlemen, if you need strategy for next year, just come up with your own event.
Yes.
Yes. If Ted had won Rooted Vermont, then he probably would have been first this time around.
Oh, someone you just gave away
spoiler.
A spoiler alert.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So, in second place, we have Mr. Ted King. Yeah, he didn't give himself any points. He didn't do his own event, which I was kind of bummed about. But, I mean, I guess if you have to play race director, Bill knows everything about that. It's not like you really have time to ride your own event. But
it's
yeah,
the dreaded promoter legs.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will say I had Ted King at number 1 because my algorithm gave him a bump for hosting his own race. Even though I think it's kind of I think Laura did most of the work for it, but I mean, they invited people to their home to put on a gravel event. So, because it was close, him and I'm guessing your number 1 person kind of had some similar results, went back and forth. And so, whereas you gave Matt Stevens a pretty big, drive in a car bump, I gave my algorithm gave Ted King the host your own race bump. So I don't know. You never know what's going to happen. That's what the fun of it.
Hey,
Exactly.
these are all going into the GROADIO Bible for the power rankings and what you're going to have to pull from in years to come.
Okay, so next year you're going to be like, hey, remember on that one episode where this went into it, and we'll be like, oh man, we gotta remember that.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, Colin did Steamboat RPI and went to Iceland, and so Ted didn't do RPI this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so that gives it away. My number 1 spot this time around goes to Colin Strickland. He finished 4th at Steamboat, quietly just outside of the podium there. He finished 4th at Rebecca's Private Idaho, and he won the Rift, which was pretty cool. I was kind of sad that he didn't defend at Gravel Worlds. I don't know what if it was a sponsor thing or if the event persuaded him to come to Steamboat, but it was kind of a bummer that he didn't defend his Gravel Worlds title. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Zach? Do you think there's an obligation to defend or no?
He had always been really good about doing that event, and I think that even though we all discovered him, some of us discovered him at DK this year, I think he certainly lent some star power to Gravel Worlds in the last couple of years. I was kind of bummed to see that he wasn't going to go back there and defend it. But at the same time, like he's a privateer. He's going to go where the show is and where, in the case of Steamboat, the money is. And so you can't fault him for that, for sure. But yeah, it would have been cool to see him defend that Gravel Worlds title, especially because he was a 2-time winner, and had really kind of, I don't know, he had lent a lot of star power, I think, to that race in the last few years.
Yeah,
that's
for
also
sure.
somewhere where I think that, again, this is not the ethos of gravel racing, but it sort of is something that I think as a race organizer, you want your defending champ there, and you sort of you try to find a way to make it possible for them to come back as well. I'm not saying they didn't do that, but that seems like should be one of those priorities for events like this. It's always easier to promote your event if you're able to say, defending champ returning.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys watched Ted King's King of the Ride video from the Rift, but there's a really good breakdown of like how that race actually played out as a race, and Ted talks about the finish and how Colin gets through like a couple water crossings and only gets like a handful of seconds on him, but just holds it the whole way to the finish, and he only wins by like less than a minute, some sort of margin where he could see him the whole way to the finish. And I love hearing the stories like that because I think it's pretty cool how you can be racing for that long a period of time and it'll still come down to just a couple of things that make the difference.
Would those be considered fjords?
Aren't
Maybe.
well, they're
No.
I mean, wait, are they're like fjord fords? Fords of the fjords?
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Anyway, that's the best thing ever. It's like you get these like huge races, or even you see that like in tours and stuff where it's like so much racing and it still comes down to just the last couple seconds. So what was this? I'm gonna have to go watch this. Was it the Ted King's?
Yeah, his YouTube channel series. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's not the Groad to Kansas anymore. It sounds like the King of the Ride is back. I loved the Groad to Kansas.
Yeah.
That was a fun series.
Yeah, I mean, he had to change the name once Kansas was over. So
well, or he could be so focused on redemption that it's already the Groad to Kansas 2020. I mean, not redemption, right? But like getting back his top spot. It could always just be that. Are you on the Groad to Kansas yet, Amanda?
Did you guys hear Ted's new news though?
No. What's that?
Oh, Laura's pregnant.
Oh, that's exciting.
I saw that picture. I did see that. I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah. So he's going to be a freaking dad for DK next year. So who knows if it's like Groad to baby. We'll see.
Oh.
So here's my question. I'm sorry. Zach has this great like dog show going on in the back of his room.
I know the boys really want to be a part of the GROADIO podcast here,
which is amazing. I love it. So here I was just kind of jotting down the names through the men. I started with the men, so I'm sure I possibly missed some during the women's power rankings. But what just struck me is how many national champions in different disciplines are competing in these events. So just the ones that I caught, where you got Marcotte, who's former road national champ. You got McIlvain, who's former marathon, mountain bike national champ. You got Tristan Ewell, who's a former cyclocross single speed national champ. It's kind of cool where you have all of these different disciplines that are. I think it's somehow some thesis of gravel racing can be drawn from that you're getting these people who have excelled in these different disciplines who are all getting drawn to this I would say in most of these instances, a little later on in their racing careers. And even with Amanda, where you had Carl Decker and guys like that in there as well. I think it's kind of a cool mix between different generations that we're seeing out there racing.
Well, they've all kind of said that they kind of look at it, they like it because it's kind of like this playing field that's a little bit neutral. And so you can have the mountain bikers, you can have the roadies, the cross people. I don't know if we've seen any like BMXers yet. The track people like Ashton Lambie, they're out there doing it. So it provides a way to like test different level, these fitness and these skills from different disciplines against one another.
Strickland, you could call a track. I mean, he's, Red Hook champ.
Fixie kid, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I saw freaking Trebone was complaining again on Twitter today or yesterday or something about how gravel racing isn't really racing. And I wanted to chime in, but it was frustrating because it's like you put two people together and it's a race no matter what kind of bike you're on or like who you're riding against. Like as soon as there are two people and one person says I can win, then it's a race. It doesn't matter the kind of style, bike, or discipline or whatever. So it was something that was bothering me the past couple of days, and going through this, it's like, no, this is racing. If there's like 20 guys at the front that want to go for that top step, like it doesn't matter. That's what's going to happen. It's just the natural evolution of what we're doing here.
Who was he subtweeting? Was he subtweeting Grinduro? I couldn't even tell like where that came from.
I think so.
Okay,
maybe
I couldn't even tell. It was just kind of
random. There was something about mountain bike wheels and drop bars that got him.
Oh
yes,
or tires onto this whole thing. But my solution for Ryan would be to find a gravel race in the Netherlands, and then he would have many, many, many windmills along the way to yell at. And then he'd be happy.
Oh, Bill getting all classical with his heat here. That is well done. There's several levels to that heat, Bill.
Thank you.
You might not even get them
I'm sorry,
all.
Ryan. I'm sure you'll find me on Twitter and let me know.
Although probably, I mean,
once again, gone wrong.
In the Netherlands, though, they might not be. It might be drop bar bikes with like 28 millimeter slicks, so it might not even be applicable. Who knows? With it being
it's true.
flatter
And
stuff.
And you don't race in Lycra. You just wear your street clothes.
Yes. On cruiser bikes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if Ryan did one of these events. He'd probably have fun. It's just one of those things. But on that note, Lawrence Tandam he put on a gravel event in Germany this past weekend. Side note, that just reminded me when you said go find a gravel event in the Netherlands. There was one in Germany that Lawrence Tandam put on, and Tom Dumoulin was there. Because I was
nice.
like, why isn't he at Road Worlds right now? And he was freaking doing a gravel ride in Germany. So there you go.
Probably more fun at that race than what they were dealing with in Yorkshire.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, how long though
So-
till the Worlds organizers throw just huge chunks of gravel into a Worlds course and people just kind of flip their shit? I mean, I give it 8 years. 8 years maybe. It's
I give it,
inevitable. It's
4.
inevitably going to happen. There's going to be
Yeah.
Strada Bianca type section, or and then people are going to be like, oh my god, gravel's taking over the world. Literally
Well, wasn't it already? I mean, it's already. They have already had Giro stages that have been on the gravel. I mean, classic Giro stages were on the gravel, so it's kind of just throwback to that. Yeah, I don't see how it's not going to happen, especially with how road bike tires are now, and everybody's riding on wider and wider tires on the road, even at the pro level. So I think you're going to get more and more of that.
Well, hopefully they're listening to this episode. When they come back, we'll get invited. Because we're talking about it first.
That's right.
Yeah.
Am I doing this right, Bill,
it.
for a wide angle podium? Right, we're breaking news. We're covering new ground. Am I doing this right? Now that we're official.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the LTD gravel raid, and I don't know if we should we can talk about it now, and I'll save it for another episode. But it looks pretty crazy. I mean, there are people with mountain bikes on this thing.
Oh wow.
On some pretty cool looking single track sections.
Are you looking at that Lawrence Tandam's race?
I think so. Yeah, the LTD gravel raid.
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
reason why I found out about it was because a friend who lived in SoCal moved to the Netherlands, and she posted about doing this gravel event this weekend. I was like, what? Tom Dumoulin was there?
Yeah,
Very
it looks.
cool.
So it looks like they even set it up with like little enduro sections, mark time segments. Yeah, it's like a little. Yeah, so they got sort of the enduro format to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, I love that all of these different style of events are popping up everywhere. And we talked last time about those events that have timed segments. And, I was even talking to somebody who works at Crank Brothers a couple weeks ago. They were asking me about different kinds of gravel events and what events they should go and sponsor next year. And, when you're talking to somebody, Bill, a curious noob, somebody who's like fascinated about the development of this discipline, it's like the question of what kind of gravel races are there. As I was talking to him, it kind of realized that there are, in my mind, 3 different kinds of racing. There's the like roadie alternative racing, sort of Belgian waffle ride-esque, and then there's like mountain style gravel, which is more fire road, climbing, descending, crusher style. And then there's the Midwest rolling, just kind of gravel hills forever. I mean, is that how you kind of see it, Zach? Are those 3 different styles of I guess, races that we've been talking about here this summer?
I would definitely say for the big ones, for sure. I mean, I guess we could come up with like subgenres. I think of like Rasputitsa, which is basically just a mud pit, a little bit different because of the time of the year and kind of the roads that they have. But yeah, I would say generally speaking, in the way that we've kind of talked about it is like mountainous versus the grind, the literal grinds, that we see in the Midwest, kind of thing. So yeah, those. What was the third one? I totally blanked on. What was the third one though?
Oh, like Belgian waffle.
Oh yes, Groad. So the Groad,
yes.
the Groad,
yes,
the Groad
exactly.
style races, the more
So
like
if you were-
spring classic style kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, for
So
sure.
if you were to have like a gravel world tour, then I think that sort of sets up well, because then you're not really focusing on one type of rider. So if you bring in, a mix of already with those 3 and just have a couple of each of those, some at elevation, some not, mixed terrain. I think when we put together the national calendar here, I think it's already set up for what you need in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, I think like it's a point we keep coming back to. It's what makes it fun that we can see different riders succeed, and we can then speculate like, oh, maybe this rider had a bad day, or oh, it's kind of surprising that they showed versatility in the gravel discipline by doing well at multiple of those races. So yeah, I think it's another one of those aspects that makes it super fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, get it down to like 6. Let's go shoot for six events.
Okay.
Make it the calendar.
Yeah.
Then when we do these power rankings, it's going to be that much easier. I love putting things in boxes. Then it's going to be that much easier for you to go, okay, everybody's there. Everybody's doing it on these times. We can still have all these other events, but these are the ones that are the focus.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
go
think
from
that's
there.
going to happen anyways next year, so
Yeah.
for sure.
Wait, do you know something? Are you breaking?
No,
okay.
I'm just saying people are putting their calendars together already. I mean, Land Run already had registration, so I mean these things are already on people's radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we definitely coming up. I mean, that's another episode to do, is just like kind of what's sort of a preview of what's out there, what's already open, and sort of the marquee events that you think people are going to focus on for the year. You, Amanda, when you're building your calendar out for next year, I'm sure you've already started doing that, if not already completed doing that.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a good episode, one to talk about planning.
Awesome. All right. Do we have anything else we need to add for the power rankings? And let me see if I can get this correct this time. You may not notice, because I'm definitely going to have to go in there and fix like my opening statement, but for episode 7
Yeah.
of GROADIO.
Are you going to dub over that?
If I say yes, then
It's
people
fine.
will
Zach
know.
corrected you.
I just want to hear like what Bill's dub sounds like.
I'll scratch
Just
it
like
in there.
splice it in. Go back to the archives from Cyclocross Radio 7 and splice in that. Maybe your voice is different. I don't know.
Another volume.
Go listen to the heat check videos. That's about 75 takes.
Okay.
All put together.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Have we decided how people can get in touch with us? What did we decide on what we're doing? The socials are still a work in progress, huh?
I think for now, the easiest thing for folks to do is just to follow along for each of us individually at _Amanda_Panda_ on Twitter, and then also at the Shoe Star and at CX Hairs. And then the best thing, if you want to shoot us some comments or some mail of any kind, you can send that just to feedback@cxhairs.com. And I'm sure by reading the title, I will figure out that it is a GROADIO specific question. But other than that, I think the biggest thing that I would ask that people do is to go to wideanglepodium.com, check out all of the other shows that are there now that GROADIO is an official part of that family. Subscribe to the GROADIO feed on whatever podcast application you may use, and then look for some other shows, and then think about becoming a member for the network. We're going to be having our donor drive coming up here in a few weeks, I believe. So that's kind of our big push to get new members, to get new family members for our community, and let you sort of help support all of the content that we put out on the network. And any closing things we need to cover here, guys?
Oh, I would just say, like, along the lines of feedback, I mean, we would love topics to cover. There's a lot out there, so send in your ideas, and we would love to talk about it, because I believe the goal is to keep this going through the winter. Might be a little bit slower, but the GROADIO is going to be a regular thing, and so any suggestions of things you'd like to hear us opine about, or if you have opining of your own, would love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. We can, also, I guess I should add, we can, and we'll probably do this in a little more organized manner, but we can also solicit phone calls from you all, 405-CX-HAIRS. Give us a call. We can play your call on the air, and then Amanda and Zach can answer them.
Sweet. I'm still looking for my first CX Hairs hotline call, so I'm still waiting for that experience. So I'm excited.
And as we go into some of these episodes during the winter, one of the things that we want feedback and suggestions on is what is the first gravel event that Bill should do as we get into this next year.
Excellent.
I'm going to have to start riding bikes again.
Uh-oh.
All right, great. Thank you all. This was at our Power Rankings episode. We are going to record, at least for now, one more episode where what do we got coming up next, guys?
I think we're going to talk about Grinduro, because that happened. And I thought we might talk some tech, too. So there's been a little bit of a gravel invasion of the cyclocross world, so we might do a little bit of a crossover. I don't know, I think that might be one of the topics on order as well.
Awesome. Sounds good. Okay, we'll talk to y'all soon.
All right, later.